My son wants to be a janitor. Like I just want to clean shit. I don't know. Like that math was like the worst, bro. Like Chinese. Hey mom, look what I did. Like I burnt down the whole fucking forest. Fuck that. I was like, I don't like. I've never been to summer school in my life. I'm like, summers are like for the boys. You know?
Yeah.
And you know what I love more than my Lamborghini? My books.
You got scammed. You guys got scammed. And I felt
I
bad.
said, are you joking? There's some people in there that are just gifted.
How do you guys still stay motivated? And
Like, oh, I do this, I do that. Like, I got my own business. Pumped, it was like $300. We're like, fuck yeah, we made it. So you don't have a fucking business, you have a hobby.
We are back with another episode of The Experience Podcast, and today it's all about our co-host, Mr. Nicholas Buffone. This episode is all about his story from rags to riches. You guys are going to love it. I hope you enjoy.
how did you end up starting your business?
Oh man, that's a pretty funny story. So I'll be completely honest with you. Growing up, you know, I know we heard your story and this and that. I've known you for a long time, but essentially, I actually, when I was younger, I told my parents I wanted to be a janitor. That was like, I had no real ambition of being like an entrepreneur. It was always on the back of my mind that I wanted to be successful, but I was never like growing up like, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like, I remember my parents were like, my son wants to be a janitor. Like,
Why a janitor?
because I guess like my dad was a clean freak, so like I just want to clean shit. I don't know, like that I don't know, but obviously that was like when I was like, you know, grade 2, grade 3, and then also I was just never good in school. So like growing up, I was just always tough in school. Like school was just never easy for me, especially French school was like very very tough. So what happened was when I switched to Beaconsfield, this is where like, you know, things started to get a little bit easier for me, and I was still messing around. I was still doing, you know, dumb stuff, but I never had the vision of really being an entrepreneur, right? But what happened was, fast forward to like, let's say Sec 3, Sec 4. This is where I'm like, damn, these are the years that count the most in our schooling system, because, you know, this is where you have to do your high math. This is where you have to do science. This is where you have to do everything to qualify for a good CJEP or a good college. I barely qualified to get into high school. So I didn't, you know, I was always in the lowest classes. I was always doing the bare minimum and like tutoring like 5 days a week. I just wasn't, school was just not easy for me. So I was just like, you know, winging it. I was like, dude, you know what? I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. And then until like Sec 4. In Sec 4, what happened was everybody's like getting accepted to like, you know, commerce, like business, this, that. Like everyone's like getting all their high maths, and then Sec 5, everyone's applying. And I'm like, shit, I got nothing. You know? Like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I don't have high math. I don't have high science. Like, I
And
don't
you
have.
didn't think of these things? You didn't think of doing those extra courses to get in?
So in high school, not really, because I was still struggling to get my grades up. You know what I mean? Like, it was still like, dude, I was doing tutoring 5 days a week. I don't think you guys understand. Like, since the age of my parents, God bless them, they have spent so much money on tutoring for me, just because, like, you know, I always had, like, they didn't know what it was. Like, my teachers would say I'm dyslexic. But every single teacher that I had growing up was always like, there's like a learning problem with like, there's your son, the way he writes, the way he like, they always like, they would read my essays and it'd be like, something's off. You know what I mean? Like, they'd be like, something's off. But like, no one gave me a direct answer. Like, I did a bunch of tests and this and that, and like, some said I was dyslexic, some said I had ADHD, whatever the case may be, but there was like no concrete answers. So I didn't want to take on more responsibility, and I felt, honestly, I was very discouraged for a large part of my life. Like, I was always getting 60s. I was always failing. Like, I always had to go do extra curriculum. So in high school, I was just like, man, I don't want to take on, I didn't think it was possible for myself. I was just like, if I would get a 60, I'd be like, damn, that's good, you know, like, And then I would say things really start to change when I was in Sec 4. You know, I like from Sec 1 to like Sec 3, I was like smoking a lot of pot, you know, just messing around. And then one day, like, I just woke up and I just like, I remember it. I was at my mom's house and I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was just not proud with the person I wanted to be. And I was like, I got to start applying myself. So I really started applying myself. I actually took some advice from you because I know you were always good in school. So what I did was I started going, seeing my teachers, started asking them, what can I do better? Like, you know, like I really want to succeed in these courses. But getting back to it, to the entrepreneurial journey. So what happened was I started applying myself. And then I would say in about Sec 4, Sec 5, my grades like really, like I was applying myself like extremely hard. And I was starting to get like about 80, 90. Like I actually graduated with high honors at Beaconsfield.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But the problem is that I had started too late, right? So my two choices were either I redo those courses in CJEP, which I had heard was just from every single person that I'd spoken to told me two things. A, don't go into social science because you'll like every single person I know, and not discrediting it, but every person that warned me, they had dropped out or they just said like, it's not worth your time. Like you're better off
specialize in something.
Exactly. You're better off doing something else. And then the second thing was I was always thinking, okay, maybe I'll do something in business or like, you know, finance. Everyone, like your parents, my parents, like finance, or like science or something like that. You know what I mean? Something along those lines. I think every parent wants their kid to do. But to me, math was like the worst, bro. Like Chinese, like I don't understand it. Like it would take me a long time to understand like simple equations. Still to this day. Thank God for AI. But that being said, like literally like I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to do math. And like I know for all the business courses you needed like what was it called? Like the things that you guys did, like
Calculus?
calculus. Yeah. So I was like, dude, I was looking at like my brother's stuff and like I was like, this is insane. Like there's no way that I'm gonna be motivated to finish this. And so everyone's like, oh, you know, maybe you're going to have to go back to Cartier. For those of you that don't know, Cartier is like a educational, like a high school for you to do your schooling, but for adults.
Well, and it's for degenerates and bums, to be quite honest.
Yes.
And it's also for people that need to do extra courses that they didn't do in high school.
I don't know if it still is today, but at the time it was not. It was like where if you got kicked out at 16, you'd go to Cartier.
Yeah,
Like,
so
it
it's
was
not
just like-
only if you're an adult.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's considered, right? You have to be like 16 and up to go there, but
But you could have been in regular high school at that point.
yeah, exactly. But
It
like,
could be normal summer school, from what I understand, for anybody, or it could be that you were horrible in your in your high school and then they sent you to this school.
no, 100%. But I know a couple people that didn't do their high math.
And they had to do it there, yeah,
and
like summer school.
No, not even that. Like I know that they wanted to do business and like they wanted to do business, but they had to do calculus. And I think there's like there's certain things that you have to do before. Like there's like certain requirements in high school that you need to have of like high math or whatever. I forget what it is, like high math or high science. And if you did it at Cartier over the summer, you were allowed to use your calculator. It was much easier than if you did it at in like
your high
Abbott.
school, yeah.
Yeah, in CJEP.
Oh, and CJEP,
If you did it in CJEP, apparently it was just like they were it was 10 times harder. So everyone's like, you know what? You may just want to go to Cartier and you may want to just do it over the summer. That way you don't have to spend an extra year in CJEP and like large majority of people fail. So I was like, damn, that doesn't sound too good. You know what I mean? I was like, summer school? I was like, fuck that. I was like, I've never been to summer school in my life. I'm like, summers are like for the boys, you know, chilling, going out, you know, we're partying at that time. So what happened was in about Sec 5, I actually, I was a little lost. I'll be honest with you. I was very lost. I saw like all you guys going into like CJAP, great programs. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, you know, like I have nothing. Social science.
And then how did you find the program that you end up going into?
So what happened, funny enough, is that I was talking to my mom and I was just like, because my parents are very much school. Like my mom has a master's, my dad has a master's, you know, and my brother's was always good in school. Like my brother crushes it. Like he's school smart, like just came natural, Whereas I'm like retarded a little bit. I'm just an idiot, you know? So like for me, it was just like, I was just like, they were like, oh, Nick, you know, like 60, that's good. You know, like my brother at 80s, 90s, like all the teachers would be comparing us like, why are you not like your brother? I'd be like, well, I'm not my brother. That's why I'm not like him. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
just to give the people an idea, and then you'll finish your story about what you ended up going into the program. But just to give people an idea, it's not that you're retarded, dude. You went to
No.
French school, and then you went to English school and had all English friends. So that's why you're amazing at French and English, or you're great at French and English, but you're not amazing at either one.
exactly.
Whereas I'm amazing
I
at
appreciate
English,
it.
but I suck shit at French. That's all the difference is.
Yeah,
So
so-
it's reading,
Yeah.
comprehension, maybe some words that you mix up between the languages, but it's because you have like a great base in both, but you never mastered one or the other
Well,
language.
that's the tough part. Okay, so I was horrendous at grammar and reading and writing specifically in French. That I can read in French like pretty good. Writing horrendous. So my whole childhood, I was always learning in French, right? The basics of French, this that. But I was not good at that. So then when I went to high school, you don't like I had never learned that. Like we were learning maybe like 1 hour of English a day or maybe like a week or something like that. Like it was very much like everything was French. So when I went to high school, like the there's like all that, like these are things that you're supposed to know and you learn from like kindergarten to like literally grade 6. I didn't know those basics, so like I had to learn. So like you said, like I know both, but not a master in any of them. But that being said, going back to pretty much I was lost and
And then how did your mom tell you?
so yeah.
Well, how did she?
Yeah, exactly. So my mom, I forget, my parents were just like, you know what, you should maybe go see the guidance counselor, in high school. So that's what I did. I went to go see the guidance counselor and, I'd spoken with her. She was an absolute angel. She was like probably in her 30s at the time, you know what I mean? Like, and she was just like young, hip, and she's like, oh, like, what do you like to do? Are you good in art? I'm like, I'm pretty shit in art, like, not good. She's like, are you good in math? I was like, not really. But she's like, so what interests you? I was like, honestly, like I said, I'm into new technology. Like I'm eager to learn, like she saw the ambition. She's like, well, there's actually this new program that just came out in John Abbott. I was like, what's the name of the program? She's like, it's graphic and web design. I said, that could be fun, she's like, why don't I do this? Like, why don't, I give you the information and all this. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm like, now I'm thinking, okay, yeah, graphic and web design. So I was looking at a couple schools. I was like, well, let's see where it goes. And then I remember I was in economics in Sec 5, and one of my buddies, like my really good buddies, he was like, yo, I was like, we were talking, like he sat right in front of me and he helped me out a lot in economics. Like this guy's a fucking genius, bro. Like just math and everything really came good to him. And I was shit, so I had to cheat off him all the time because it's like, fuck, like I didn't study for this shit, But pretty much I was speaking with him and I was like, what are you going into? He's like, graphic and web design. I said, are you joking? He's like, no. I said, dude, like that's literally what I'm going into. He's like, well, so like whatever. We got much closer at that time, and his mom ended up setting us up to go, like, I don't know how she did it.
Orientation or whatever?
Yeah, like it was like a day that we got off. Both of us got off from school, like a Friday that we went to Abbott to see if this is a program that we would like to attend. And so when we went there, bro, first class we get in there, movie. I'm like, I'm loving this already, Second class we go, it's like drawing on the computer, but we're not drawing like, we're really using the software's Adobe. So we're using all Adobe, we're using Photoshop, we're using all this. And I'm like, man, this could really be something that I learn, like computers, like, technology is evolving. And I think I can see myself potentially doing something. Like at least I know the programs and I can use something of it. So we did the whole day, absolutely loved it, applied, got in, we both got in. And from there, man, like just started doing it. But that being said, this is how all came to be. So when I got to John Abbott, First year, everything was solid. Second year, solid. Then I'm like, holy shit, I'm not that good at graphic design. It's like I'm thinking like there's some people in there that are just gifted. Like what I mean gifted, like they're actual artists that they have pieces and like they create like a Da Vinci, like literally like these most beautiful things. Mine's like circles and shit like that. Like I'm just like I don't really know what you want me to put together. You know what I mean? But like if you told me, hey, I want a menu and this is the style I'm looking for, I could create that for you. Like I could be like, but I need to have an idea of what you're looking for, or else I'm gonna bring you
Didn't you had already started the courses online to start your business?
Never.
Yeah, you did.
Not
for sure,
not when I
dude.
started graphic designs, bro.
Yes.
No, I'm telling you, I'm getting to that. So first year I did everything. Second year of Abbott, that's when I did it. So then I was looking at the pays and all that, and dude, it's like to be a graphic and web designer nowadays, you can go on Fiverr.com. It's like a very very competitive industry. So I was thinking to myself, like I had discovered Fiverr.com. I was like, why the hell am I even doing my own projects when I can pay someone in the Philippines or India $5? They're gonna do a much better job than me, and I have to save all my time. You know what I mean? I was like, and then I was looking like at like careers, and they're like there's a class like, oh, okay, this is like the average salary like 40,000. I was like, dude, 40,000, like, not to disrespect 40,000, but for me it's like it's never. I always knew that like I want to be successful. Like I really want to show my family and I want to show myself that I could be someone of success. And at the time and still today, I one of my qualities I value success is, it's multiple things, happy family, this, that, but definitely your level of income. And my level of income I was like, I can't live off $40,000 a year. That's impossible. So what happened was, one night, I'm like, damn, like I'm just like in this whole pickle for probably like this semester. I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? Like I just spent 2 years for something that I'm never like. I can't do graphic designs. Like my parents are gonna look at me like, there's our kid, like there he is, the janitor. Fuck, like there he is. So
He made it.
He literally made it. He's gonna buy me my Aston Martin with that money, So it's like I always just want to show my parents that I could, like they passed me down the torch and I can do better. You know what I mean? Like they came from some really great beginnings and like, it was tough for them. And so I just want to show them that like, hey, what you came from and what you did, I totally respect. And I just want to take that respect and I want to do even better to show you guys, like, I don't take it for granted, So what happened was, funny enough, at that time, I think this was like 2017, and I got hit with like a Tai Lopez ad. And I was just like, this guy was like, it was like the classic one, like,
Lambo
hey, I'm in my garage.
the garage, yeah.
And you know what I love more than my Lamborghini? My books. I was like, fuck, who is this guy? Like, who is this guy? And I'm just seeing like a bunch of hate, like scam, 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 scam. And at the time it was brand new. Like, I believe it was like 2016, 17, when like webinars weren't really a big thing. So he's like, I'm hosting this free 2-hour training on how to charge clients. I remember specifically how to charge clients $0 to $10,000 per month. So I was thinking to myself, shit, if I can charge even a client $1,000 a month, like I'm chilling, like $1,000, all, you know what I mean? Like just off one client. So 0 to 10,000. I was like 10,000 to me, it was just like out of my horizon. I couldn't even picture charging someone 10,000. So I did the whole webinar. And I remember at the time, you guys had already started your business, you and Ambro. You guys had started the landscaping. And I remember I was at John's house, and we're just in his basement, maybe had a bit too much to smoke and drink. And I had a gut feeling. I was just like, at the end of it, it was like, whatever, he gives this whole thing. Tai Lopez is the king of telling the best story, but not really giving you too much information, but like keeping you hooked like for 2 hours, but he doesn't really tell you what it's about, and then he just slaps you with like it's $2,000, So I'm like, fuck, I don't even have $2,000 in my bank account, bro. Like I literally have like what? Like at the time, I probably had like I don't even know, maybe $1,000. I was like, And I was like, I gotta do it. And I remember looking at John. I was like, bro, I gotta do it. I was like, he's like, no, you're crazy, bro. You know, because it was a lot of money, bro, back then.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
it's like, and I was just like, I gotta do it. Like, there's something in my gut that is telling me that I gotta do it. So I remember he's like, bro, you're crazy. I said, listen, John, if you don't do it, I'm fucking doing it by myself. Like, I'm going to do it by myself, but I would love if you would split that 50-50 with me, you know? Like, if you split that, like, we're all good, bro. Like, you know? And then I remember walking out, and this was probably like around 2 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, I got to go home, you know? Like, I had school the next day or whatever. I was working at the restaurant. And I remember looking at him like, and I remember like walking out. He's like, all right, bro, let's do it. And I remember like I put it on my credit card. I did not sleep for 3 nights. I was tossing and turning. And it's not that I like, it's not even the fact that like, I just didn't even tell my parents because my parents are very big on education and, you know, they would have probably like reimbursed me. I'm very blessed that my parents like have the means in regards to, you know, being able to, they would have reimbursed me,
Yeah,
but I
for
was just
sure.
like, I don't want that. I want all the money that I worked for like this whole summer and all that shit to do it on my own. And then that way, like, I have skin in the game. If you don't have
Yeah.
skin in the game, then it's fucking useless. If they would have paid for the course, I'd be like, Mom, Dad, like, you know, can you pay for it? I I wouldn't be here today. Like I would still be here today,
You
hopefully.
might not have even finished the
I
course.
probably wouldn't have finished the course and I probably wouldn't have started. Why? Because I had no skin in the game. It's like if you don't pay for something, and you know, that's something that we had discussed about in the last podcast where like, you know, people that pay $100 for a ticket or people that pay $10,000 for an event. You know, there's like levels of investment to it. So I said, you know what? At that time, it was a lot of money. I actually had to take a payment plan, by the way. Like I couldn't even, like I took a payment plan like $400, whatever. And I remember like calculating the first night in my bed, like, okay, if I $400 here, this, that, okay, I'll have at least enough money to like pay for this. Like, you know, like like I can still pay for my fucking gas. I can still pay for like insurance. Like I was calculating, like tossing and turning, like holy shit. And that's how it started, man. That's really the beginning of the entrepreneurship is just not having any direction in school. School was just never something for me. It was just tough for me.
Yeah.
And I was very demoted. You know what I mean? Like if I would have been good at school, probably things could have turned out differently, but my grades were always horrendous. And I was just like, I was just discouraged, bro.
But I'll tell you a funny story about that, you guys buying that course. I remember everybody thought that Tai Lopez was a scam at that time. Everybody still thinks he's a scammer. To be honest, I respect a lot of the stuff that he does. I don't think he puts out the best courses, but I think that if you take his courses, you'll learn some knowledge and you'll have invested some time and
Right.
energy into pursuing that business further. I think it's worth it for sure. I
I
think
think
it's worth
it's-
it to buy courses in general
100%.
if you could afford them. But anyway, I remember my first thought when John told me in his basement as well, and Nick wasn't there, and I remember he's telling me that you guys did that, and my
Yeah.
first reaction, at the time I never heard of online courses. He was the first one by far doing it, first one doing webinars. I never knew any of these things. And John tells me, and immediately I'm like, you got scammed. You guys got scammed. And I felt bad. I felt bad for you guys.
I don't blame you,
I
bro.
really thought
I
you
don't
guys
blame
got
you.
scammed. And then John got really defensive and he just kind of got mad at me for saying that he got scammed. So then I apologized. I didn't want him to get pissed at me. So then I kind of was like, okay, I'll take this with an open mind, explain why it's not a scam. And then he just spent, you know how John is when he goes into his rants. He spent maybe probably like 3-4 hours just explaining every aspect of the course, why it's the best, showing me the video, showing me the teachers, showing me the ad, showing me the webinar, talking about the story, talking about what socks you guys were wearing at the moment. He goes that detailed in his stories. Yeah. Anyways, he tells me this whole thing, and then I was sold. And by the end of it, I wanted to freaking buy the course.
Right.
And that was so it's just funny to say
100%.
from the other side of it. As scared as you were, anybody who, you couldn't even speak to people about it because it didn't exist. So no matter who you speak to about it, they're all going to think you're an idiot.
Even I remember the only person I remember telling my brother is like, yo, you're a fucking idiot. like, bro, you got scammed. This, I'm like, dude, did you pay for the course? Like, have you done the course? No, but I read some like. I'm like, so how can you even like?
And
how
isn't
can
it
you
funny
even
though?
say that?
It's so funny because everybody
know?
thinks that about all courses in general online. They think that it's all
Right.
scams. And the way I see it is it's more of, like you said, you have skin in the game. You're committing to pursuing that business or that avenue or that skill set.
Right.
That's really the importance of it. And then hopefully you got a good teacher that actually didn't scam you, that knows what they're talking about.
I agree.
And if you did get somebody that knows somewhat what they're talking about, one, you're going to learn the skill set more, but then two, the momentum it's going to create for you to continue learning the skill set is invaluable. And then I guess that's like a good transition into where did you go from there? So you buy the course and then you start your business with John. What happens?
It didn't even, exactly. So great. So to be completely honest with you, to me, it was like, I've just done 2 years of something that I'm not even going to make, like forget 7 figures, whatever. I won't even make, and I'm not to say that people in graphic design can't make 6 figures. They probably can, but like working like a day job, graphic designs, very, very, very highly unlikely unless you're like designing the logo for like Pepsi or like you're doing something crazy as an artist. And like I said, that wasn't me. I'm like, you like something, you do this. So for me, it was kind of like this course was a way out because he was kind of selling me on the picture that I can make $10,000 a month now. You know, it's like how to make $0 to $10,000 per month in your marketing agency. And I wasn't necessarily so much going to be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to start a marketing agency. I was more like, what is it that this guy's like? It was more about what he was selling in terms of like, what is that mindset or what's that business strategy that I could use, maybe not necessarily for marketing, but I could use to, you know, make 6 figures.
To sell anything.
Yeah. You know, I wasn't necessarily sure what the hell he was selling. Like I said, this guy's great at telling stories, like the fucking king of telling stories. So what happened was we started doing this course. And to be completely honest with you, for those of you that talk shit about Tai Lopez, he's absolutely super well educated. Like he knows what he's talking about. And B, 90% of the courses is not even him teaching. He has professionals all around the world that are highly specialized in each different topic that teaches in the course. So you have about like 30 teachers in the course, right? So we were watching it. And I remember we had bought it and we're like, okay, dude, we got to do like an hour. Like it was like a whole course, like probably like 20 hours. And it can get discouraging if you're doing it alone, right? Because like, shit, these are 1 hour videos. Like they're tough. Even though you paid for it, you're like, oh, God damn it. I got to put an hour of my time to watch this video and like really like learn, you know? Like it's like, you don't really want to do it when you have school. So anyways, we made the effort to do it. And we had gone through it, and then I forget exactly how it came to be. But we're like, I guess we'll start to do this. Like, you know what I mean? So what happened was, we had created our website. Like, you know, we had gone through every module, and the biggest thing was taking action. So one thing that Tai Lopez that really stuck with me was that at every single module, you would not get a completion like on the video unless you submitted the homework. So he makes you take action because he says knowledge is knowledge, right? But you got to apply the knowledge in order to make it valuable, right? You can read every single fucking book you want in the world. If you don't, you can read one book, it's going to be more valuable if you take action than reading 700 books.
Yeah.
So he was really about you got to take action. So we took action. We, you know, that's to correlate where my graphic designs, you know, I knew now how to build websites. I knew how to do logos. I knew how to do all of that. So I was like, you know what, this can fit in because his whole course was just, hey, I'm going to teach you how to manage people's social media, like more like branding, graphic designs, photo shoots, and plan out their schedules and charge them between $0 to $10,000. So it wasn't directly, he was teaching you more of how to, you know, be like the brand manager. So the social media content creation, like a content creation agency, but not so much marketing. And the reason I say that is because marketing is like an ROI. You can track who's coming in. You're doing campaigns to get more business out there. Whereas with a content creation agency that he was doing, you can't really track anything, right? If I do a post for a client, I don't know if they came into the store, right? Because at the time, most businesses didn't have the online sales system in place. It was still very new for everyone, right? Online. So what happened was we took action, and then, we kind of loafed a little bit. Okay, we were definitely loafing a little bit. Like this was like probably in January. And I remember finally I was like, I got the gut. Like after 5 months of doing it, I built my website. We got the logo, we got the name, this, that. And I remember like my dad's like, so like we were in Greece and he's like, so what are you doing? Like he was like, just like coming down on me, like, like, so what are you doing? This, that. I don't blame him, because like I hadn't spoken about anything. I was like, I don't want to show them anything until like it's legit, I don't want to talk the talk. I want to show them. And I remember like he was just coming down on me, like, and he was like being like super like direct to me, and I was just like getting defensive. Like one thing I do is I get defensive, and like it's not a good thing. I try not to, but I get defensive, if someone's coming after me. So I'm like, oh, I do this, I do that. Like I got my own business. He's like, you got your own business? I said, yeah. I was like, me and John, we started this, yada yada yada. He's like, how many clients you have? I was like, what? He's like, how many clients you have? I was like, 0. He's like, so you don't have a fucking business? You have a hobby. I remember just sitting there. I was like, I want to throw up. Like, this is like vacation, bro. We're on vacation in Greece. We're supposed to have a good time. And I remember it's like midnight my time, 6 p.m. I'm texting John. I'm like, bro, when we come back, like we're going to every single, like, I'm a failure in his eyes. Like, and it was good because not that I'm a failure in my dad's eyes, but like he pushed me, you know what I mean? He was like, dude, don't tap yourself on the back. You have a fucking website. You have a logo. Like,
yeah, it's not a real
anyone
business.
could do that shit. Prove to me.
It's funny. It's so funny, I find, because I actually, sometimes those tough conversations that people like have with you are the most influential to making you progress to another level in your life. I actually have come to enjoy those type of hard talks with people.
They suck in the moment, but I think what the most beneficial thing is out of this is that those tough moments make you feel so uncomfortable that it kind of ruins like your day to day, your thinking. Usually people wake up, eat breakfast. This is like now it just disrupted everything. Now the only thing I'm thinking is I need to prove him wrong and I need to get a client. So what the fuck can I do to get a client? So I think those things made me take action. Like it was like an anger. It was like a burning sensation. Like I cannot disappoint. I got to do it. It's like that drive that like, it was like, not like a pain, but like a little bit of a pain of like, hey, like this guy doesn't believe in me. But now looking back at the time, I want to kill him. You know what I mean? Like I love my dad, but like I was so angry. And I imagine you could be the same thing when you were starting your business. Like why can't you just be support? But like, why can't you just say like, hey, good job. But like, if he would have said that, I would have felt good about myself, So it's like those people that like challenge you, so I was like, so I remember coming back, we had no clients, 0. So we didn't even have the business. It's probably 2017. And right now what we're doing is at the time is like, okay, we're going to start pitching clients on social media, content creation. We're going to do their social media. We're going to take care of their Facebook posts, their Instagram posts, English, French. So what happens is, we end up actually doing it for one of the restaurants that we were working for free, because that's what they had mentioned in the course, build a portfolio, do it for free. Did it for free, this, that, and they loved it. They were starting to get some followers, yada, yada, yada. They were super happy, and I'm super grateful that they allowed us to do it as well. Then the next step was started cold calling, man. Actually, before starting cold calling, funny enough, what we used to do is we used to print, like I used to drive by, like John and I used to go in his car, his mom's car at the time, actually, because we didn't have cars. And we would drive all down St. Charles, drive all down like St. John's. And we'd be like, we look at like this business. Okay, this business, we could pitch this business. This business, we could pitch. And we would just like write down the names. Okay, we're going to take this business, specifically restaurants, because we always both worked in restaurants. So we're like, we can kind of talk to them. We can kind of understand a little bit more of their world in regards to, how we can, why they should need it, why it's so important. So what we did was we probably had like a list of like 15 businesses. And I shit you not, I still have the video on Snapchat on my phone of like we had done an audit for every single one. So like, you know, their website page wasn't working. They didn't claim their Google business, like all these little things that don't directly bring an ROI, but like that's what we were taught, right? Like, you know, these simple things that like at the time no one really knew about because it was so new. So we had printed out probably about like 30, and we were walking into these businesses like, hey, how are you? You know, can we speak to the owner? So quick to realize the owner is 90% times not in. Okay. So my mom one day, she's like, my mom's in sales, and she's like, why don't you just call the businesses beforehand instead of driving there or wasting your time to see if the business owners are there? I was like, fuck, I never really thought about that. You know, like, because we were always like, it's like, hey, is the business owner there? No. Okay, good. Thank you. Bye. Have a great day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because we had tried it before where, like, you know, we gave it to the person at the front desk. They just take that shit. They fucking throw it. They don't give a shit. The business, they don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
They don't care. If you go to a restaurant and it's the hostess, oh, hey, can I speak to the owner? The owner's not here. Oh, perfect. Can you give me my CV? They're going to take it and throw it in the garbage. Like, it's just a waste of time. So we learned that the hard way. And my mom's like, you got to be more efficient. You know, you got to be efficient in business. Don't waste your time. So she had told me to start calling the businesses. So we started calling the businesses, and we ended up, you know, closing one little consulting deal, this, that, which was, we were super pumped. It was like $300. We're like, fuck yeah, we made it. Like, yeah, you know, like 1 hour of our time, $300 consulting. Which is amazing. And then afterwards, I was like, you know what? Let's just start cold calling. So I started cold calling. John started cold calling. And I booked us our first meeting with like, at the time, it was like a pretty big company and like local company in Montreal. And, you know, we pitched them, this, that, and we signed them. And that's where it all started, bro.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember all that.
Yeah, and I remember like being super pumped, and, you know, I was just like, man, like finally, like after like 3 months of like coming back from that vacation, and no, you know, I got to think about it. No, like literally 3 months of people just telling me no. I was just like, God damn it, is someone going to give me a break?
Yeah.
Is someone going to give me a break?
And you guys really stuck with it as well. Like, you guys, of all the friends in the friend group, well, specifically me and Ambro, we started many different businesses.
Right.
Whereas you guys always stuck with this one core business and just continued to chip away at it year after year after year.
Right.
And so let's fast forward later on. I think maybe let's fast forward like 3 or 4 years into the business when it really starts picking up. How do you guys still stay motivated, and how do you guys pivot from some of the challenges that you faced, you know, in all those years?
So to answer your first question, how do I stay motivated? I would say, honestly, man, my biggest motivational factors are you guys. Like, you guys push me every day. Like, you, Amber, like, they know who they are. Like, the boys, you guys push me every day. I would say my family as well. My dad really pushes me every day, like, as well. My brother, my mom, like, everyone knows. But, like, you guys are, like, my motivation, bro. Like,
yeah, you're my motivation
if I don't wake up in the morning, I'm like, I feel like I disappoint everyone, you know?
Yeah.
Like, my whole family.
Our friend group really holds each other accountable.
I would say you guys are my motivation. You know what I mean? That's what I get motivation off of, as well as my girlfriend. Not to forget, you know, she
But I'm saying
me.
back in the day, you're not even dating her yet.
No, you gotta just throw that one in. No, but I'm saying, like, back in the day, honestly, the biggest thing, I always wanted to support my family. Not that they need support, to be completely honest. It's just like, I always wanted to just, like, my dad came from a very poor beginning, like very, very poor. And growing up, I was super, super close to my dad as well as my mom, but like really with my dad, like, and he would just tell me all the stories, and like, you know, he's done quite well for himself, like super, like I could not be grateful for what he's shown me. And every time we go on vacations or like dinners, like he never did nothing, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like his parents were off the boat, like came here with like $10 in their pocket. And he was just telling me, like, and I'm doing, like, I can't even imagine that, of what he was raised in. And I remember him telling all these stories, and he's like, this is like, you know, like, I'm only showing you like 1% of what I've been able to achieve. He's like, you know, if you take everything that I've been able to, like you and me and your mom have been able to build, in terms like it's just really up to you to take it and move forward. I always talk about it like a torch. So I always say like his father gave him a torch for a better opportunity coming to Canada, and now he's giving me a torch. And I was just the biggest way is just I want to take that torch, I want to fucking make a forest fire, and I want to say, hey pops, look what I did. Hey mom, look what I did. Like I burnt down the whole fucking forest, even though it's not good for the environment. I know people are gonna talk
No,
shit,
but yeah,
but
so you.
that's been my motivation,
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
that burns me inside.
Yeah.
Like it's just like generation, like, and I hope my kid, if I raise him right, or my daughter, like that they can take what I've done. I think it's just passing down. Like you can always get better. So that's always been my motivation. So, that as well as you guys pushing me to my limits. So that's
And then,
really, really been my motivation.
Yeah, nice. And then how did that kind of get you through the toughest time in your business, which...
So I would say business, like, and how I stuck with it. I think that was the other question.
But the COVID story is basically what I'm trying to...
So, like I said, man, I don't have any other backfall. Like I actually generally enjoy, I like sales. I love sales. It's not my favorite thing to do, to be completely honest with you. Like I enjoy it, but like I don't think anyone really enjoys like some people enjoy cold calling and this and that. Like I do it because it's a must, right? But as I keep building the team, I kind of want to step away. I just generally really, really love, like as I've learned more and more, Facebook ads, Google ads, like there's nothing that gives me more of a rush than when I can go and show my clients like, hey dude, like, we just spent this and I made you back like this. Like that really is what, like, I just love it. I love everything about running Facebook ads, Google ads. Like I'm just super passionate.
But you weren't into that initially, and that's kind of the story I wanted you to speak to everybody
exactly.
about.
So essentially going back to the course, what happened was with the course, they didn't really teach us all of this. This is the big thing. So at the time, there was not a lot of courses. So the Tai Lopez course that I had purchased was more of a content creation agency course, meaning that they really taught you just about, you're going to sign a client and you're just going to manage their social media page. You're going to write the captions, you're going to schedule the posts, you're going to answer all the comments that come in. You're just really going to be managing their social media. That's it. Whether you take the photos or not, that's what they had sold us on. So that was working great for us. We had signed some really great lines. We were scaling up, and I remember, we just hit like our first like big month, and we're like, damn, yeah. And then COVID hit and lost everything. Like literally exactly in May. I remember it was like, it was like, what, 3 years ago on my 20th birthday. I remember my 20th birthday, I was so depressed. I was like, I've just worked a year and a half struggling, trying to find the answers, because business is a big part of business, not to drift off, but a big part of business for me is the mental. I think a lot of people can agree with it. I think it's just you're challenging yourself, that you always want to do better every day. And sometimes I get frustrated with like being stuck, not knowing the answers, and like, where am I going? So I finally felt as if like when I hit my biggest month at the time, I finally felt like, you know what, I'm starting to see the path. I'm starting to pave like all these nights confused, like where am I going? I finally see it. And then COVID hit, no one expected. And I lost every single client day to day. But at the moment, I was super depressed. I actually had you were like a great supportive. You were
I remember you calling me because you had all restaurant clients.
Right.
And all restaurants got closed in Quebec
for sure
immediately when COVID started. And so I remember you calling me. And at the time I was working at the company that I learned everything about real estate at. And you called me and you're telling me that you lost all your clients, that some of them aren't paying you, some of them aren't answering you. Many of them are just canceling all their contracts with you. Yeah. And you were just devastated.
Devastated, bro.
And the only thing I could say, because what could you say to somebody that works so hard to get into a place where they think that they're comfortable with what they've built, and then it all goes to zero overnight? There's not really much you could say to comfort that person. But all I could think of saying, which is what I believe in all the time, is that I actually do believe this. When one door closes, a better door opens. If you look for that better solution, or you look for that better, if you look for that better opportunity, if you look for that better opportunity, there is one always.
Right.
And sometimes you got to get slapped in the head to find the better opportunity.
Yep. Sometimes you need a good punch in the face to wake up, bro.
Exactly.
You know, so you were definitely a big support in that. I would say for myself. I don't know about John. Obviously, I have a business partner, 50%. For me, like mentally, I would say you were probably like John too. Was also like, you know, obviously we were both like, you know what, we get back like this that. But besides John, I would say the only other, not that like all the other boys weren't supportive. It's just I wasn't open about it to them. Like, you know, I didn't speak to them. Like me and you, we've always been super close. So, like besides you and like my family, but we all know how it went with my mom and stuff like that. Like, you know, so they weren't as supportive. But you believed in me.
And then no, sorry to cut you off though.
No.
You're saying some deep shit though. I love you, bro. Honestly,
Love you too,
we
bro.
tell each other all
Yeah.
deep stuff. We've known each other forever, and I agree. You're one of the only people that I actually could go into real deep conversations about like what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, what's
Without
like on my
judgment.
mind.
That's
Without
like
judgment.
I feel
Yeah,
like I
exactly.
can tell you anything, and you know you'll always kind of look at like the same kind of perspective, and you know you challenge me in this and that. So that was definitely it. But like you said, like I remember you said, you know, COVID. I remember you telling me, you know, right after, like, dude, COVID was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, that's
Which
what I
it
was
was.
telling you.
It
And I was
definitely
telling
was.
you, you just have to figure out why this happened, and figure out some other avenue that you could take in the business so that this never happens again. That's all I could think of. But I want you to get into when it all happens and you go to zero and then you're at dinner with your mom.
Yeah, so I'd said this one before, but pretty much what had happened was, like I had said before, pretty much what had happened was I pretty much lost every client. I believe in the week that COVID hit, everyone went first, everything was good. I was telling John, we got to keep the clients, you know, we don't know. It was when Apple, I remember that day, Apple in Montreal shut down the doors. And everyone now started to panic. Like Fairview started to close down. The shopping mall started to close down. Like Apple started to close down. Best Buy, all these things. And then I remember like, oh shit. Like all of our clients are in shopping centers because we worked a lot with the franchises and the franchisees. I'm telling John, like, dude, we gotta do something. Because again, right, we were content creation agency. We're managing the social media posts. There's no ROI that they can say, hey, I paid Expandify $10,000 and these guys brought me back $100,000. There's no way to correlate. It's like you're posting on social media. Did the person come eat because they were just hungry? This, that. So pretty much, long story short, they all dropped us. They said, hey, you know, because they have massive amounts of, you know, rent and this and all their overhead is super expensive. So all of them got dropped besides one client. And I remember that day, it was like we had literally our biggest client at the time. Like this was like our ticket. Like we were like, yeah, you know, like, damn, this was a 6-figure contract. And I remember he was being a little iffy a few days. I told John, bro, like, you got to work the deal, you know, like work the deal. Like, you got to make sure that this guy's happy, satisfied, like, do whatever the fuck it takes to make sure that this guy doesn't drop us. Because if he drops us, like, we're at zero, you know, like, done. And pretty much 2 days later, he dropped us. So he had dropped us. And yeah, I remember I was just like, at dinner, I can even tell you the exact meal I ate. And I remember sitting there sick to my stomach, like literally like the world is crumbling down. You know, like everything, like it was like every single thing that every person told me was like, oh, you're going to be a failure. You're going to be this, like, because growing up, my teachers told me that, you know, you're accomplished nothing. Literally, like they would tell me you're going to accomplish dick shit. Like my grade 6 teacher told me I can't even be a garbage man. So it's like at that moment, I really felt like a failure. And I remember just sitting there like, why? Why God? You know, like why me? What have I done? And And then my mom was looking at me. She's like, "Oh, is everything okay?" And our boyfriend at the time was there. And I remember she was just looking at me. She's like, "So you're gonna get a real job now?" And that was like,
That's devastating.
that one hit the heart. And I remember just saying like, "I gotta like, can you please excuse me from dinner?" And I remember I was like, I gotta get out. I gotta get some fresh air. And I went to like walk around the park. And I remember I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And the only thing that came to my mind was wake up at 5 a.m. and run. Because and the reason why that came to me was just because at that time, I had really gotten into David Goggins, which I respect so much. And he was just like running. And I felt so horrendous. That was like the only way I'm not going to feel horrendous if I start running like Forrest Gump. Like I'm just going to run till I can't stop running. And that year, funny enough, I ran the marathon. I just ran every day, bro. 5 a.m. every day. Like it was that or like I was going to go crazy. But it was a blessing in disguise because right after that, I remember I was like, okay, we got to shift. We got to adapt. Why is it that our clients dropped us? Why? We could not correlate ROI. Businesses were booming. Now, mind you, probably about 2 weeks in that spectrum, I had just signed this client from Toronto that was a baby clothing company. And her sales when COVID hit skyrocketed. Like when I tell you skyrocketed. And she had called me, this, that. So now we're at like, and she was paying us like $1,500 a month, which was really good at the time. And I was like, holy shit. We got to be working with e-commerce brands. Like, we got to start doing something. So I just sat in my basement day in and day out, video pitch after video pitch after video pitch, just showing like, hey, this is what we did for this client. This is what we did. You guys gotta, you know what I mean? And I ended up signing a client. Then, you know, right after my birthday, and then another client in the States. That was the big game changer. Is I remember signing that client in the basement, and I remember it was like 2 G's US. It was like I was like, holy shit! I'd never met this client prior to that. I always had to go to the meetings. I always had to, you know, show up face to face. And this was like now a client in LA that I did like a 1-call close. And like, I remember just sending the invoice and I remember going upstairs and I remember showing my mom like, kind of like, hey, yeah, look at this, you know, like I just made like $3,000 because it's Canadian, whatever. Like, yeah, you know, I was so pumped. And that was the big game changer. And that's what opened up my eyes to us no longer being a content creation agency to working specifically with advertising, meaning that what we do is we take your product, we promote it in front of people, we optimize your website so that way people purchase, but we can track all of this data. So if a client spends money, they can see if we're not making the money or we are making the money. And that was a really big game changer. And the second thing that I had learned from COVID was always get paid upfront for my services. So for me, it was a service, right? So we had to collect roughly around $25,000 when COVID hit, right? Because we were not taking any payment processors. We weren't doing anything. Like we weren't doing anything Stripe. We were just collecting checks, right? Because we were working with everyone from Montreal. Let me tell you, it was an absolute nightmare to collect that through COVID. And I needed the money. Like it was to the point that year that our expenses had gone through the roof that I was literally like, at the end of the year, when we got like all our fiscal year, this, that, I remember being like, holy shit, our expenses are coming out and now we don't have cash flow. Even though we're selling, like on paper, let's say we're making $6,000 to $10,000, we're not collecting that month, right? Like that's what we sold for, but I didn't collect that cash flow. So we're actually negative 4,000, negative 4,000, negative 4,000. So now the bank account's going down, can't really scale. And then tax season comes and you know how much the government of Quebec and Canada loves to eat your fucking money up. So now I remember looking at John, I'm like, bro, I think I'm actually going to have to transfer from my own personal bank account that I've been living off my savings, like all my birthday money for like everything that I saved for like a year to the business, because there's no more money, like done, finito. And God bless, everything worked out, and we actually ended up, and we started honing down like a dog, like an actual dog, like following up, sending emails every day. And our longest client took us a year to pay us up, but we got it. And yeah, man, that's kind of like the way that it works. And now what we learned was on day one of a client, they have to pay day one. But we offer a refund policy. So if they're not happy for any reason, we refund them. But as long now we can keep cash flow, because cash flow is king.
And now you guys were able to build, the business into what it is today.
Right.
You don't need a job. You could live off the income of the business.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing. You guys stuck with it the whole time through all the trials and tribulations.
It's
Didn't give up once.
I appreciate it, bro. It's
no shiny spoon syndrome either.
There was a couple of shiny spoon syndromes. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not.
But for the majority, not really.
Large majority. I think the biggest reason why I was stuck to it, and I think John too. For me personally, I can't speak on behalf of John. I always just believed in the company. I believed what we did was for better, and I just generally really love advertising. Like, I love running ads. I don't like doing the creatives. I don't like doing the graphic design, but looking at the data, looking at the analytics, optimizing the web pages. Why is it you know what I mean? Like color psychology, like how can we make this better? How can we make more people buy this? Like, that to me just excites me. And these are things that I like to read up on. These are things I like to, watch YouTube videos. I like to buy programs on, like automations. Like, how can I automate, like make everything automated for my client, from, the booking to this, like, that's what I just love, man. And that's what excites me. So that's why I kind of stuck with it. But there was a lot of times that, especially, at the times when we were going through rough times and the boys were like succeeding, you just kind of want to see like, oh, what's next? Like we did like the MLM thing, like always looking for that quick buck. That's another story. But at the end of the day, we stuck with it. God bless, man. I think God has a plan. And
any last words for maybe we could end it here on 3 things that you think were the biggest lessons that allowed you to achieve what you have achieved so far with your business?
I think the biggest thing is adapting. So constantly be adapting. And the reason I say that for my specific career is because every day things are changing. Like AI, ChatGPT just disrupted, like there's like now so many different things that I could use for advertising. Like, it's moving, especially I'm talking about the online space, but you got to be able to adapt. Just because something worked last year doesn't mean it's going to work today. I would say number 2, it's going to be really just like the battle with yourself. Like, just know that even though if you eat shit, if you, like even when you hit rock bottom, why would you want to stay at rock bottom? For me, it's always been like, let's swim up. This is the lowest point. Let's try to swim up. Like, at this point, like, it could probably get worse. I'm not saying it could always get worse. Don't get me wrong, but let's try to swim up. And like, I hit rock bottom. And I remember hearing this off a podcast. I forget exactly. I think it was Ed Millett and someone else, but that really stuck with me, where he's like, if you hit rock bottom, or if you're going through hell, why would you want to stay in hell? Push through to get out. So those words stuck with me, and that to me was like, if I just push through, even through the hard times, because you'll be able to learn, right? Something that happened shitty a year ago, you don't even probably remember today. So it's just a spectrum, small in the grand scheme of things. And then number 3 is just be consistent. Be consistent and don't do the work that makes you feel good, and that's easy. Do the work that not sucks, but that you kind of don't want to do, but it's going to move you forward. And I learned that a very hard way. I'm just saying that because I really learned that the hard way. I used to look at like the ads manager. For people that don't know, it's like I used to look at the computer for like 8 hours a day, not doing really anything, but making myself feel good, thinking like, you know what, like, oh man, I just did 8 hours, like looking at the business ads manager, like, wow. For those of you who don't know, that's like the back end platform of Facebook to run ads. And realistically, it should take what I was looking at for 8 hours should take you 30 minutes at most. But I want to make myself feel better as if I was doing more for my self-conscious than really, you know, putting in the work and taking in the action. That's what I would leave it to, man. Just that, and have a good support group.
I love it, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for sharing your story. It was amazing.
Thank you, brother.
Love you, bro.
Love you too, bro.